running back room. So this has been an interesting one. So, after the Super Bowl, well, probably once mid-season last year, once we saw Pacheco was the guy, I think people weren't even thinking about the running back room being a thing. And they just, it's just Pacheco and McKinnon's world. And that's the way it's going to be. But post Super Bowl, Pacheco, torn labrum, has shoulder surgery in the offseason, broken hand during the playoffs, gets a hand surgery. And so now we're seeing him. People thought he was going to come out in the PUP, was not on the PUP, comes out. He's been there all throughout training camp, has a yellow jersey on, non-contact jersey. So he's participating in everything, but he can't go full 100% because he's still got the non-contact jersey on. But then you have CH, who a lot of people thought was going to get cut. We didn't extend his 5th-year option. A lot of people thought he was going to get cut this offseason. We're seeing him get RB1 reps. We're seeing our guy, Denaric Prince, friend of the show, who came on our show earlier on the offseason. Yep. He's been getting a lot of RB1 snaps and reps. A lot of people thought that was going to happen. And it's actually, last year we had the Pacheco hype. This year we got the Prince hype. And as we're calling him, the Prince of the Kingdom. And then obviously Jerick McKinnon has his role. I don't think anyone's going to supersede what he's doing as far as a pass protection standpoint and also pass catcher on the backfield. Although Denaric Prince has been tearing it up at training camp as far as pass catching. But what do you make of how the running back reps are going right now? And I know today, Saturday's practice, CH wasn't there, so you saw a little bit more to Denaric Prince getting more RB1 reps today, which was interesting. I think Andy's going to speak here in a little bit, but we don't know what CH's injury was, why he didn't play today, if it was an injury. But what do you make of the RB1 reps? And I think the big conversation is, are we going to carry 4 running backs this season?
So I took a look at last year's initial 53-man roster. So we started out with 4 running backs, 5 receivers, 4 tight ends, and Michael Burton at fullback. So which position group gets the extra position bump? I think tight end's pretty safe at 4. Receivers we'll get to in a few minutes. I think we go with 4 running backs again. I was one of the – I know you guys were part of the kind of Pacheco doubter team, and I was a part of that as well. I don't think we're going to have as much as a guy as people think that Pacheco is going to be. I think we have 4 guys with pretty different skill sets. I think they're all hungry in their own way too, right? Like McKinnon lost some years in his career with a lot of injuries, unfortunate injuries that he's trying to make up for. McKinnon's on his 4th 1-year deal in a row. So that guy's constantly fighting for his next contract. He just stays hungry, right? And obviously the much publicized problem with running backs now, even for the high-end ones. So it's like look at the guys that can't even get jobs, right? So you have guys like McKinnon who are like, I have it, but it can go in a second. Look at some of the former Pro Bowlers and all-pro players that are jobless right now who, are going on shows every day to try to sell themselves. So I think that's another guy. He's got something to prove. Pacheco wants to prove he's not a fluke. And it's not like he's the bona fide starter anyway. He had averaged 12 carries per game in the postseason. So I don't think he's out there thinking it's his job by any means. You got the Prince of St. Joseph out there getting rave reviews, is trying to make the last spot. And then you have a guy who, like you mentioned a minute ago, has drawn a lot of hate from Chief fans at CEH, whose 5th-year option was declined, much like the Raiders did with Josh Jacobs last year, which I'm sure they regretted. Does he have a bounce-back year in a contract here and finally stay healthy? His contract's in the line, and he's 24. Would it surprise me? Would it surprise anyone if CEH was our best back this year? Would it surprise you if CEH was our best back?
I mean, no, just based on the way things go. And I think the late, great Therese Paylor always said the contract year is always undefeated.
Yeah.
And Josh Jacobs is a great example of that. A guy who's had, solid career up until this past year. What happens? That last year they pound the rock. They're pounding the rock in the Hall of Fame game. And everyone's like, wait, what? They're going to trade him. And then all of a sudden, no, he played the whole year. I think I looked at a stat the other day. It was like week 6 on. He had 20 plus carries, just carries alone, for pretty much the whole season from week 6 on. And I could see, I don't know, based on the way all the offense goes, it's not like CEH or Pacheco's going to demand the ball. So I could see CEH continuing what he did to start the season out last year. But that's one thing. His career's kind of been hindered by injuries.
All of a sudden be his healthiest season. That's not going to surprise me either. And the thing with Pacheco too, it's like another reason. It's not talent either. I just don't think he runs really hard, man. He runs like right into contact, like full speed, and he gets cracked. So those nicked up injuries are going to keep coming, and they just are. So I just don't. I wouldn't bet on Pacheco being our leading carrier this season. I just wouldn't. We have too many guys. We don't have any big commitments to any of them, and it's really just a hot hand.
Well, it's a hot hand approach, and also I think we kind of talked about it last week on our episode, but like the fact
I'm good with, by the way.
What's that? Oh yeah. I mean, that's kind of the way. I mean, the committees are kind of the way everyone's going right now with the running backs. Anyway, that's also prompted in this whole running back conversation. Teams are moving towards that, where they have guys who kind of specialize in one thing, like the McKinnons of the world, who specialize in the pass catch, pass pro. Which we've had that for a long time, but I think we're starting to see more teams having a third down back specialist and having a bunch of guys who do a lot of
and have two bruisers,
but
multiple bruisers, because bruisers get injured. They just do.
Like you said, with the way Pacheco runs, he's going to get a lot of dinged up injuries. And it's also starting the season off. And that's also another thing, too. I think starting the season off, I think they're going to kind of work him back slowly. And that's why we're seeing Denaric Prince get the amount of love he's getting and the reps he's getting. And the one thing that surprised me with Prince, which is something that Pacheco, that was one of his, I guess, pros and cons to his game. One of the cons to his game was not really much of a pass catcher. I remember last training camp, pass protection was an issue with him, but not really much of a pass catcher. Denaric Prince, if you look at his body of work as far as college-wise, didn't really have many catches out of the backfield, but he's showing that he can be this pass catcher out of the backfield, and he's also has this kind of like Pacheco-like running style where he's kind of a masher. So he's kind of showing a little bit of everything. When we had him on the show, he talked about how he's a 3-down back, and that's his goal, to never leave the field. And then I think a couple of days ago during the training camp pressers, he talked about being the 3-down back, and that's who he is. And if that is the way they want to slowly get Pacheco back into the groove with it, because Torrey Lamb was no joke, neither is Broken Hand, especially for a running back who is a masher. You get Prince going, you get CH going, you get McKinnon going, you got kind of a 4, going the hot hand approach, and then and that's the thing. Pacheco was our lead dog in the Super Bowl. I think he had 13 carries in the Super Bowl. People forget, it doesn't feel like it, but he had 13 carries in the Super Bowl, which isn't.
No, like I said, he only averaged, I think, 12, about a little over 12 carries a game in the Super Bowl. No, he had 15 in the Super Bowl. He had 10 in Cincinnati because he struggled a bit, which ironically is the game he caught the most ball. I think he caught like 5 balls that game, if I'm not mistaken. So the game he like struggled mightily is the game they try to get him like, we need to get in the ball any way we can. He actually had a good game catching. He had 5 for almost 60. So, I mean, it's pretty good. It's other games he played well, but yeah, Cincinnati really stuffed him that game. But again, I mean, like going into the playoffs too, he was a little more like fresh legged because his last 2 games of the season, he only had 17 carries combined because we weren't like going nuts with our starters at that point. So they weren't, I mean, he was pretty fresh going into the playoffs with his legs. But yeah, I just don't think we're going to have to rely on a guy like that. There's no reason to do it. We have 4 guys with fresh legs who have great skill sets. I just think you distribute it. And if a guy's running well that game, you do it. Like I'm glad like the CEH thing happened. And I'm glad as far as like not extending him and not picking up his option, because we don't have like an obligation to make anyone the guy anymore. Like you're not the first round pick anymore. That time's gone. Like you're not regarded that way anymore. You're lucky to have a roster at this point. Like that's the thing. It's such a difference. Maybe like 5 or 10 years ago, a guy like CEH would have been like, just like cut me loose, let me go somewhere. But now it's like, I'm happy to have a job. It's a rough market out there for running backs. Yeah. So it's not as much about like the playing time anymore. It's more about just being employed, man. You have a guy who was our best back for years, who people loved, in Kareem Hunt, who still is not signed anywhere. So it's like you look at all a running back has to do about being happy about being 2nd, 3rd, or 4th string on their team. Go look at the free agents of running back and see what's ahead of you, because that competition to get a job is much worse than trying to beat out Pacheco for the number 1 running back position. Okay, so
yep. I'm getting the injury report right now because their practice is over now. So CH, we're going to talk about the injuries so far during camp, but CH, not really an injury, just he's sick. So It's funny though. He's sick, and I'm not dogging guys for not playing when they're sick, and everyone, we don't know what it is, flu, whatever. But Pacheco's out there. The dude's recovering from a torn labrum. They were gonna put him on the PUP. He's out there every day, showing his usual energy that he has. When he gets up from a play, that's what he's doing. He's running out there, usually one of the first guys on the field. It's just there's a difference in the hungriness, but I'm not gonna get into that because we don't know what kind of illness it is. But he's sick, so it's not like a long term injury for CEH. Getting a lot of RB1 reps, so he probably will be in a lot of ways. If Pacheco's limited going into the season, and he's still wearing the yellow non-contact jersey, so there's a chance that he may not suit up week 1.
Even if he does, I don't think he's going to get
obviously
15 to 18 carries.
Well, yeah, I don't think he's ever going to get 18 carries anyway. I think his sweet spot's 12 to 15. Hi, everybody. Thanks for watching. Subscribe here to get the latest from the show. Also, be sure to check out the best clips from Chief Concerns. And if you prefer to listen to the show, subscribe and follow us on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, and anywhere else you get your podcasts.